Welcome to the first learning outcome, where we build the research skills that university study really depends on. We'll look at how ICT helps you find good sources, judge them, and reference them properly. Higher education asks you to find and weigh up information for yourself, rather than simply repeating what a tutor tells you. That's where ICT earns its keep, because a few clicks in a digital library can put millions of academic sources within reach. From your college login, for example, you might open an online journal database and pull up peer-reviewed articles that would once have meant a trip across the country. The reassuring thing is that good research is a skill you can practice and improve, not some talent you're either born with or not. So, what actually counts as a proper academic source? Broadly, it's something produced or checked by experts and solid enough to cite in university work, so think peer-reviewed journal articles, textbooks from established publishers, or official figures from bodies like the ONS or gov.uk. A random blog post or an anonymous social media comment usually doesn't make the cut. If you needed a health statistic, you'd trust the NHS website over an unsigned forum thread every time. Let's get a few terms straight, because you'll meet them constantly. A digital library is an online collection of books and journals, like your college library catalogue, while an academic database is a searchable index of scholarly articles, such as JSTOR or PubMed. An e-journal is simply an academic journal published online, and a repository is an institution's own store of research, often free to access. When you search your university catalogue for an e-book, you're already using a digital library without really thinking about it. Different sources give you different things, so it helps to know which door to knock on. An academic database like JSTOR or ProQuest hands you peer-reviewed articles. Google Scholar is handy for scanning scholarly work and citations. And official bodies such as the ONS or the Bank of England give you reliable data. If you were writing about inflation, for instance, you'd reach for Bank of England figures rather than a newspaper headline. Research works best as a routine rather than a single frantic search. You move through clear stages, from finding sources to judging them, and then using and citing them. And following the same steps each time makes your work faster and more dependable. For this outcome, you'll need to select at least 3 recognized electronic sources, so a repeatable 5-step workflow really keeps you on track. The trick to searching well is to start from your assignment question and pull out the key ideas to hunt for. Boolean operators then let you steer the results and narrows things down, so teamwork and motivation returns only articles about both. Or widens the net, and quotation marks lock an exact phrase like digital divide. Add the database filters for peer-reviewed and recent results, and you go from thousands of hits to a manageable handful. Let's see that in action. Say you're researching how social media affects students' study habits, so your concepts are social media, students, and study habits. You might build a search string combining those in quotation marks and brackets, then apply filters for peer-reviewed only, published between 2019 and 2026 in English. That could take 40 results down to 3 strong ones, perhaps 2 journal articles and a JISC report, which neatly meets the requirement for 3 recognized sources. Not everything online deserves your trust, so it pays to evaluate a source before you lean on it. A handy tool here is the CRAP test, which checks 5 things: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. If a source fails on authority or accuracy, say an article with no named author and no evidence, it shouldn't appear as evidence in your work. Run this quick check on every source you're tempted to use. It helps to picture a sliding scale from more reliable to less. At the trustworthy end, you've got a named, qualified author or a recognized organization, work that's been reviewed, and clear references backing up its claims. At the shaky end are pages with no author, an obvious aim to sell or provoke, and no evidence at all. A government statistics page sits comfortably at one end, while an anonymous product review sits firmly at the other. Once you've found a good source, two jobs follow: extracting and contextualizing. Extracting is pulling out the specific idea or figure you actually need, while contextualizing is explaining what it shows and how it supports your argument. Don't just drop a quote in and move on. Tell the reader why it matters, and wherever you can, put the idea in your own words rather than quoting at length. And jot down where each idea came from straight away, so referencing later is painless. There's a tidy sequence that takes you from someone else's words to your own argument. You read actively to spot the key point, note it in your own words along with the author, year and page. Then combine ideas from several sources into a single line of reasoning. After that, you contextualize, explaining what the evidence shows, and finally add a citation so the source is properly credited. Follow those steps and paraphrasing stops feeling like guesswork. Here's a worked example. Imagine a JISC report from 2023 states that 52% of students feel their digital skills aren't well supported. You'd extract the key point that just over half of students want better support and paraphrase it in your own words with the citation attached. Then you contextualize. This suggests colleges should build ICT skills into the curriculum, which backs your argument that induction ought to include research training. Notice the statistic is doing a job, not just sitting there as a quote. Referencing might feel like a chore, but it earns its place. It credits the original author and keeps you clear of plagiarism. It lets your reader track down and check your sources, and it quietly shows how well evidenced your argument really is. At UK Versity, we use the Harvard system, which pairs a short in-text citation with a full reference list at the end. Harvard has a couple of moving parts worth knowing. In the text, you drop a brief note, like the author's surname, year and page, and at the end you give a full alphabetical reference list of everything you cited. A bibliography, by contrast, lists everything you read whether you cited it or not, and you only include one if you're asked. The standard UK guide for all of this is Cite Them Right, which is well worth keeping to hand. Different source types follow slightly different patterns in Harvard. An ebook needs the author, year, title, edition, place, publisher, and the URL with an access date, while a journal article swaps in the article title, journal, volume, and page numbers, plus a DOI or link. Websites and online reports follow their own layouts, and even an AI tool has a format of its own. It sounds fiddly, but once you've done a couple, the pattern clicks into place. Let's reference an AI tool properly, since this comes up more and more. Suppose you use ChatGPT to brainstorm ideas for an essay plan. First, check your organization's policy, because UK Versity requires you to declare any AI use. In the text, you'd cite it briefly, and in the reference list, you'd give the tool, its version, the label large language model, and the URL with an access date. Crucially, you still write the essay yourself, because the AI output is a starting point, not evidence. This outcome asks for something beyond just referencing, because you also need to justify why you chose each source. A strong justification explains why a source is appropriate, a recognized author, peer-reviewed, recent, and directly relevant to your question. You might write that you chose the ONS data because it's official, current, and exactly on topic, and then show that you rejected a weaker source, like an unverified blog, and why. That's how you prove you can judge quality, not just find information. A few habits save real pain here. Record a source's full details the moment you use it, and keep them in a reference manager or a simple table rather than trusting your memory. The classic mistakes are missing access dates, a forgotten in-text citation, inconsistent formatting, or citing the search engine instead of the actual source. Above all, make sure every in-text citation matches an entry in your reference list, and pick one style and apply it the same way throughout. Let's pull this outcome together. ICT gives you independent access to recognized academic sources, from databases and e-journals to digital libraries and official statistics. And searching well with keywords, Boolean operators and filters helps you find at least 3 strong ones. From there, you evaluate each source with the CRAP test, extract and contextualize its content in your own words, and reference everything in Harvard style, AI tools included. Do all that, and your work is honest, credible, and properly evidenced. That brings us to the end of the first outcome, where you've learned to find, judge, and reference electronic sources like an independent researcher. If you'd like to go further, the further reading points you towards Cite Them Right for the referencing detail, Stella Cottrell's Study Skills Handbook for the wider picture, and GIS's work on digital capability. There are also useful resources from the ICO and the National Cybersecurity Centre for the safety side of things. Do dip into the ebooks and journals on the Moodle for this unit and bring any questions to your tutor.